Hi guys, this is Mel and I am back to talk Lost Girl, and this video is meant to talk about episode 512 titled Judgement Fae, which first was released September 27th, 2015, and it has been maybe 10-15 minutes since I finished watching the episode, and I gotta say I'm still reeling. There's so many questions in my head, there's just so many things still going around, and well, I figured I might as well record this now while it's still fresh in my head. So let's get started. First, let me start my timer, and it is gonna be 15 minutes again this time, or a little bit longer, but we'll see. Okay, so first things first, anything new about the episode? Well, we did meet the ancient Hephaestus, who is apparently supposed to be the ugliest of the ancients, but I gotta tell you, that was not the case. That is for sure. Even Bo said it. But with Hephaestus, we learned what it basically means to meet him and call an audience towards him. And that basically for Bo, she had to basically be in this mock courtroom type thing where essentially she is being judged. Basically how she goes about with this makeshift lawsuit stuff, how she handles it is basically how the judge is going to perceive how her inner justice is supposed to be. And then if she is correct in her judgment, then she gets to see Hephaestus, who forges one weapon per ancient. So I guess since Bo is kind of half of an ancient, she's kind of entitled to having one weapon by him. So, and the reason why they went to see Hephaestus is because Zeus went to see him. So they kind of want to know what Zeus wants through him. Second thing we learn in this episode is Lauren's deteriorating health because she's the conduit. And you see it in little moments where she's very forgetful, forgetting that she ordered pizza, forgetting that she has important results in her hands. And then we learn that patient X, aka Lauren, is showing early signs of Parkinson's disease with the whole memory loss thing, and then it is rapidly occurring. So there's something like that. Don't know why it had to be memory loss, considering that she's a conduit for the Fae. I would have thought it was like motor function or something like that first, as opposed to her mind. But I guess Laura being a doctor, it's equally as dangerous for her. So there's that. And then we also learned, which I thought was interesting, was that we got to see who Kevin and Elizabeth were without being the vessels for ancients Zeus and Hera. So it was very interesting, even if we only got to see bits of Kevin and we got a whole lot of babbling Elizabeth. It was definitely interesting to see the switch, and it was a very telling switch between them. So on to my favorite moments of the episode, top 3 once again. And I gotta say that my first one has to be the Bo and Tamsin makeout scene at the very end. Spoiler alert, but that happens because of a certain breakup that happens. But I'm definitely a fan of Bo and Tamsin more than I am a fan of Bo and Lauren. So that really had me excited for the two of them. Even though I do have a peeve about that though, so I'll get to it later. Second favorite moment had to be Bo getting comfort from Hades about said breakup. And what I liked about it was, even though she was very furious with Hades and how like she doesn't want to be a part of his games anymore, basically telling him if you're going to do something, do it now. She's done waiting. But Hades was there being this comforting father figure, being the supportive father figure, trying to ease her pain in a way. And while I love seeing that father-daughter dynamic, something that we can relate to outside of the whole ancients and Fae thing, that moment has me so confused about Hades, because he's supposed to be this villainous guy, and then he turns around and he wants to do these fatherly things for her, but it has me questioning whether is that actually what he wants to do, or is it an ulterior motive to get her to lower her guard around him. So that has me confused, although I did like the moment when it was happening. So there's that. Third favorite moment has to be when Zeus was using Lauren as a vessel. That was a surprising twist. I was not expecting it, and I did like that in that way it kind of had Zeus saying more to Bo in a sense, or at least having the ability to talk before any punches were thrown and stuff like that. And yeah, so that's pretty cool. Okay, top 3 unnerving or peeved moments I had. Number 1, Dyson and Alicia. I really do not like that pairing whatsoever. I don't like the human at all. And it just figures that they would sleep together in the very same episode where her husband wakes up from a coma. I mean, you'll figure, right? But I did love that with this whole Dyson and Alicia thing, it did bring up the fact for Dyson how his kind have rules about love, and how for him Bo will always be his greatest love, and even Trick acknowledges that. So I really like that. I always like the two of them together. For Dyson, at least, I always like the two of them. So second peeved moment is when Bo finally accepts Lauren's decision to be Fae. I did not like the fact that that acceptance happens moments before she is told that Lauren has taken the antidote and is back to being a human again. It's like that acceptance came a little too late. But at least she came to that point. But it just annoyed me that, like, you had that realization, then it's like not really going to be needed because they're not in that situation anymore. So that really bugs me out. And then third peeve moment, which kind of ties into my favorite moment, has to do with Bo and Tamsin, because while I like the couple together, I did not like the fact that Bo was using Tamsin to relieve her own heartache. I mean, Tamsin even says that she's going to regret doing this, allowing herself to be used by Bo in this sense, but she does it because Bo's her friend. So I don't like seeing Tamsin being used like that, even though Bo's hurting. So there's that. Okay, number 4, most shocking moment, I have to say, is a tie between 2, actually, and that is 1, the Bo and Lauren breakup. If you hadn't figured it out in the last 2 sections, or if you haven't watched the episode, why are you watching? I just gave it away. So anyways, forge on ahead if you haven't watched the episode yet. But so Bo and Lauren break up, which I thought was surprising after they made this whole big fuss and big deal about them being together, how they're finally able to be together. And then Lauren makes a decision that no, we can't be together now that she's going to be human. I mean, it makes sense that how she came to the realization that her being Fae resulted in her losing who she was and being so caught up in the novelty of being Fae. And just basically, it couldn't be possible for them both to be Fae, so now they're stuck being Fae and human, and Lauren realizes that it can't work out like that. It's like Bo is a protector, Lauren is a healer. Many people need them for many different things, but for some reason they can't work out together. And while it's sad to see this great love between them having to come to an end like this, it kind of makes sense because of the fact that they come from 2 different worlds. And I don't mean to make that sound very specious, I guess, if that is even a word, I don't even know. But for me, when it comes to pairings, I'm more rooting for the pairings that have people coming from kind of the same background. Like for this case, Fae with Fae, because of the fact that they at least have more things in common between them than a Fae and a human would. Like, one major issue for Bo and Lauren was the fact that the whole aging differently thing. So with a Fae and a Fae, you're not going to have that problem. Fae and Fae, they already know what it feels to be different, to have these different powers, when for Fae and human, it's not really that same case. You have one who actually is different, feels different, and the other one who can't really understand what it means to be like that. So there's that. And there's also, like, in Vampire Diaries, where you have to deal with the vampire-human relationships, you have the same thing that Bo and Lauren would have to deal with, is that immortality versus being immortal, living forever and having a short lifespan. That's always an issue. And then there's actually another one. So for Vampire Diaries, I'd more likely root for a vampire and a human, or a vampire and a vampire, because the possibility of forever is more likely than I am with a vampire than a human, because chances are, in order for it to continue forward, that human's gonna have to turn into a vampire. And the same problem is in the Twilight series. And another issue is from another TV show. Sorry for bringing all these other shows in, but a TV show called Dark Angel. They had the transgenic and human relationships, or transgenic relationships. And again, it shows the same thing. Two transgenics are going to know what it feels like to grow up with their childhood, because they're both put in the same environment, while a transgenic and a human are going to be coming from two different worlds. So, where one is not going to completely understand what the other has been through. So, I guess in a sense, Bo and Lauren that breakup kind of made sense. But then it's kind of sad that after all the fighting to get together, it couldn't work out. So that was a roundabout way of showing my shock. But the second shocking moment I did have was at the very end, when Bo was kissing Tamsin. Now, was it just me, or was it a trick of the light, or was there a shifting in Bo's face? I mean, it looked like her skin was more wrinkled. It looked like the front part of her hair was maybe a bit lighter. I mean, for a split second, it kind of looked as if Bo was shifting into Hades as she kissed Tamsin. So I'm not completely sure what that means. I hope that it gets addressed, but since they were kissing, I don't think they're even going to realize that change. Or maybe I'm just imagining things. I have no clue. Maybe it was a trick off my computer screen. I have no idea. But please let me know in the comments below if you do know. That would be great. I would like to know that I'm not seeing things, or I have to wait another week for it. So, also, random question time. It's time for random questions, and it looks like, sorry, I was searching for something. Okay, random questions. Number 1, random, but in the beginning of the episode, we see Hades back in his cage, when at the end of the previous episode, we saw him escaping. So from between then and now, where did Hades go, and what did he do? It's basically, I'm just curious. And second question, just to clarify, but did Zeus and Hera exile themselves to Limbo, or what they call the Mist? I think it was. It was when they opened that sewage portal thing, and they kind of expelled themselves from their vessels. It's like, is that where they went? And if it is, I'm wondering why they would purposely do that without actually staying and fighting against Hades. But it definitely seemed like they were putting all their faith into Bo. So I guess that's progress for them. But I did like the sort of goodbye between Zeus and Bo. It was definitely interesting. But anyways, third question. Despite Lauren curing herself by using the antidote, does that mean all of her side effects from being a conduit have cleared up with it? Or is she still going to have signs of early Parkinson's, but just having its progression slowed down to a human rate? Or is she basically on the same level health-wise as Ebony, with whole deteriorating health? It'd be interesting to have that further looked into, and I wonder if she's actually going to tell Bo about her test results. Maybe they're not an issue anymore, but it would be too easy to have him just gone with the antidote. And fourth question is random, but I just thought of it because because Dyson's love for Bo was brought up in this episode by Trick. But is Dyson still bound to Bo? I mean, I don't know if I remember this correctly, but in episode 413, didn't Dyson pledge his loyalty or fealty to Bo before they went into battle to close the gates to Hades' prison, before Kenzie sacrificed herself to be the key to the door closing? Be interesting to know. Just let me know in the comments below. I'd just like to get that cleared up. And let's see, final section is predictions. Now, what do I predict for the rest of the season? Lauren's health, I think, is going to be declining. Maybe not as rapidly, but still deteriorating, even though she's cured. I think she's going to be kind of like in the same situation as Ebony, except maybe not as extreme as Ebony, maybe kind of like halfway or something. But she's definitely not out of the woods when in regards to her health. And I think that Hades has somehow influenced Bo, especially from that hug they shared in this episode. Because when you think of it, Bo influences people through her touch. So maybe that hug between them was a starting point to whatever flickering image on Bo that I saw at the end of the episode. Maybe that's how Hades starts to slowly have his control over Bo. Because even when Bo was standing by Tamsin, like before she was walking away, to me it seemed like her stance kind of seemed different. Like it seemed like she had a different presence to her. So I don't know if I'm seeing something that's not there, or if it is. So it'll be interesting to see. And that was my last prediction, which is great. Also, just wanted to point out that on my last video, I did get a comment from, from user Joanne Stevenson, I think it was. Thanks for the comment. She did mention about the shower scene between Bo and Lauren, and last week when I was replying to it, I did not know what scene she was talking about, but apparently that scene is at the beginning of this episode. So there's your clip. It's like the first scene you see for it. So there's that. And that's all I want to say. So what did you guys think of this episode? I mean, it's a pretty different shift. We definitely got a bit more answers. We got a bit more of a closure for some things, yet we have more questions in others. We see the end of one thing, example for relationships, and yet we see possibly the opening of others, maybe restarting again. Don't know. But I'm interested to see in what you have to say. Because, believe it or not, I think we only have 4 episodes left. 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, 4 episodes left. And wow, a month. That's it. Can you believe it? So, don't forget to leave a comment below about your own thoughts, observations, predictions about Lost Girl, like I said. And don't forget to like this video. Also subscribe to my channel. And check out my other videos as you wait for the next Lost Girl video if you haven't seen any of the others. And don't forget to share this video with your fellow Lost Girl fans. I love to spread the word around to everybody. And if you want any more spoilers or any fun GIFs or stuff like that, check out my Tumblr page. I have a little section just for Lost Girl tags, so check it out if you want. Usually I'm posting whenever blogs come my way or reblogging, so usually all my stuff could be found there that's TV related. And if you want, you can check all my other tags out there too. Usually for all the other TV show stuff, that's basically where I have all TV related things. And I'm going to just stop talking and keep repeating the same word again. So until next time, this is Mel wishing you all a fantastic day wherever you are. So bye bye for now.